Hi everyone, welcome back to AFC, Action Figure Captures. In today's video, we have the last of the first four of the NECA Ultimate Action Figure Gargoyles line by Disney. And this is the Goliath clone Thailog. This character looks incredible. I mean, it is simply a repaint, but just the actual sculpting of the new head to make him look as vicious as possible, it captures the show so well. The actual colors and everything, he just looks evil. They did a really nice job with it. I have taken the figure out quickly to look at him and to see how much different he is than Goliath. Honestly, he really isn't. He's basically the same in all ways. The accessories that he comes with are actually really cool. The actual flare gun and everything, they did a really nice job with that, and the actual explosive effect while he's firing the flare gun look incredible. The suitcase full of money looks amazing. It's done so well. Like, all the bills are painted properly and everything, and they've got a set of keys and everything for I'm not assuming either for the suitcase or handcuffs, but it looks incredible, and they did such a nice job with it. The one thing I did notice that I thought NECA had teased, but I'm guessing maybe I was wrong, is I thought he would also come with an angry face, much like Goliath did, and if you wanted to pose him with that sort of roaring face, that he would come with one. Unfortunately, he doesn't. I don't know why, because the figure is very limited in posing because of the way the head is designed, the neck is designed. It doesn't really move all that well, and the wings get in the way and everything, so you really can't do much with him pose-wise, much like Goliath, unfortunately. And I was hoping he'd at least come with that head so that you could put him in that sort of like reaching or, sort of attacking pose with the roaring face, but unfortunately he did not come with one. So what I'll have to do is try to see if I can Photoshop that in using the Goliath head that was included with Goliath, and I'm going to try and Photoshop the colors to make up the difference and see if that'll work, but I'm not sure how that'll turn out. We'll find out in the results afterwards. If you don't see any shots of it in the video, you know it didn't work out. Anyways, let's move on to the actual inside of the box, which is laid out pretty much exactly as Goliath was, with the figure on top and the wings underneath. But let's take a look. So as you can see, he looks pretty much exactly the way the Goliath was laid out, with the tail on the left, accessories across the base, and then the actual flare gun blast on the right side there. Sorry if it's a little hard to see, the lighting here is a little hard to set up. And then you have the artwork, or the actual shot of the figure there on the left panel. As always, they did an amazing job. The shot on the inside looks great. I'll take some proper photos of the box and give you a better look at what the box actually looks like when I start shooting photos. I just wanted you to see in the video basically what you're looking at and how it's laid out. Again, they did an amazing job with the wash on the figure. You have the deep purplish blue skin, and then you've got that dark black wash on top, and you can actually just see all the highlights and the muscles of the figure and everything else like that, the highlights on the loincloth and everything. The paint apps are amazing. I don't really see any blotches or any kind of mess ups or scratches or anything. It looks great. The one thing I did notice when I took him out, he does not stand as well as I was hoping he would. I don't remember having this many problems with Goliath, but it seems a bit looser in the legs than Goliath was, and he doesn't seem to balance quite as well, especially when he's holding the gun with the prop effect. The prop effect does look amazing though, and they did like a really great job with it, and it was a really cool way how they handled it, because they actually took the flare from the front of the flare gun and they attached it to the front of the blast, and yeah, it looks incredible, and they did such a great job with it. Like, NECA, their designers are incredible. I kind of wish this figure had some sort of neck articulation so that you can actually move his head a bit more, but I definitely get why it doesn't, because you're trying to capture the true look of the character and to make him look as massive as possible, and so I get why they had to sacrifice that. Just wish there was some way they could have worked that out and actually done a bit more with him that way, because you almost have to shoot him from like a lower angle, shooting up at him to capture the head, because the head's being pushed so far down by the actual wings and the lack of a neck joint along with the hair. It just pushes his head into like a downward position the entire time. So it's hard to get him to look upward enough to capture his face unless you're shooting with a camera at a lower angle, shooting up into his face. Okay, so here we have him outside of the packaging in this blister pack. So you can see again, you have his tail on the left, figures in the center, wings are just in behind in the second pack of the part of the blister pack. You've got that flare gun accessory. The flare gun's at the bottom there, and he does have 3 additional swappable hands. So he has a total of 5 hands. He has 2 open hands, 2 clenched fists, and one on the right does hold the flare gun with the flare effect. Again, great set of accessories. Oh, sorry, you also have that briefcase full of money. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting that. That's one of my favorite accessories of the figure. But yeah, limited accessories, but a great set of accessories, because if you've seen the series, you kind of know where they're coming from and you know what they're about. And again, just they did a great job with it. The flare effect looks amazing. Look at that blast, looks really nice. It's really well done. And the details on the actual accessories that do come with it, they look incredible. Okay, let's get him out of the blister pack and start taking a look at the figure itself. Okay, so here he is out of packaging. We have Thailog. Again, he looks incredible, but he does have that same massive wingspan that all the Gargoyles figures have. And it does make it impossible to display them side by side, of course, because, I mean, I don't know many people that have the space to do so, unfortunately. But hopefully NECA will release the folded wings like they did with the Bronx figure for Goliath. Hopefully they'll do them for the other characters. Again, I'm going to take the Goliath wings and put them on top and try to Photoshop them into the color of Thailog to see if I can actually make that work, just to see how he'll look with the folded wings, and if it works out, I'll include those photos in the video as well. So you can see he basically does have that limited articulation problem, where basically the neck just is in a fixed position, and the head, because of the hair, which looks incredible, they did a really great job with all the detail in there and the wash in the hair and all the highlights and everything. They did an amazing job. It looks great, but because of it and because of the way it's positioned, you really can't do anything with his neck, because the neck and shoulders and everything are in that locked position. The wings get in the way, so it just pushes his head down, and he's constantly in that downward looking position. But yeah, like, I mean, again, there's only so many things you can do design wise to make that different, and for what it is, I think that they did such an incredible job. Just the amount of details, like, I never would have seen a figure like this coming from this line, and I'm so glad that NECA picked it up, because the original figures, they were nice for the time, but these are so much nicer, and they look so much better. One thing I did notice, and I'm probably crazy, and anyone else who owns the figure, please feel free to chime in, but the actual hands and the feet feel like they're made of a cheaper plastic than what Goliath was. They're probably the same. They just feel way softer, and they don't seem to set in as well. And the other thing I did notice is, much like Goliath, the hands and the feet seem like they're made of that different plastic that I mentioned, and so the wash on them and the colors, they seem darker than the rest of the upper body, and so they kind of stand out and they look a bit off. But, like, I mean, it's something you have to be looking at to notice it, and I think it could just be the amount of wash on the actual individual parts. But again, overall, it looks so much better than anything else we've ever gotten in these figures, and the idea of having a Thailog at all, I think, is incredible. Hopefully they'll go back and they'll do the armored version. I know a lot of people have mentioned that and wanting to see that armored version, because he wasn't in this look for very long. It was just the very beginning, and then he moved into that armored look. And hopefully they'll either find a way of releasing parts for it to allow you to do that look, or hopefully they'll release a figure with the armor on, and heck, maybe even add a neck joint somehow, if possible. But yeah, let's move on to the accessories and how they look. Okay, so here we have Thailog with the infamous suitcase full of money and that infamous flare gun from the series. He looks incredible with it. One thing to be sure of though, you know it's NECA, so you know these parts are going to be very fragile, so be very careful when putting them into the figure's hands and everything. The post on the actual flare gun is tiny, so just be very careful when removing it and placing the blast effect onto it. The suitcase has got a little tiny handle on it and it's well painted and everything. The details are great on the stuff, but just very fragile again, so just be very careful. So many NECA figures I own are broken into the different parts. They look incredible. They're not meant to be played with, sadly, because I mean a lot of people like to kind of keep changing the look and position of their figures and getting them to look a certain way and everything, and just the more you play with these things, the more likely you are to break them, so just be very careful of that. Don't do too much and don't go too overboard when playing with them. Okay, so just be very careful of that. They do look great, and for the flare I'm going to have to actually stop the turntable to show you that flare blast effect, because it is so long it'll hit the sides of that light cube and knock the figure over. Now you'll notice he isn't standing very well. He's actually in an awkward sort of leaning position. That's what I'm having a problem with right now. I'm going to have to try and figure out a way to get him to stand properly in the photos. Here in the turntable, because it's got a little sunken layer in the inside where the light would be, he's not balancing as well as I would like. But yeah, just be careful when setting him up and everything. Make sure his feet are secure and everything, because otherwise he's probably likely to fall over. And those wings are hard plastic. There's a very good chance they're going to snap off if he falls from a distance. So just be very careful of that. And just be sure to be careful with the figure. As I said, otherwise he looks great. Like they again did a great job. If he were a statue, they'd be incredible, because he's an action figure and you want to get some poses out of him. He is limited, as I said, and also very fragile in certain places in the joints and everything, so just be careful of that, okay? But yeah, if you just want to put him on display and everything, he looks incredible. It's a beautiful looking figure, like always. NECA does a great job with the details and the sculpting and everything always. It's just more a matter of not being very playable. Like, they're not very durable at all, so you have to be careful not to damage them. Okay, so last but certainly not least, we have Thailog with the flare gun, with the flare feature attached with the blast effect, and you can see how incredible it looks, guys. You can see it barely fits into the shot. Again, going to be a problem displaying him because of it, but it looks great. One thing again to be careful of, the front of the flare gun itself, the actual flare, it's made of a harder plastic, so you got to be very careful with it. It's a very small, thin peg, and you know, when I originally took this out of the package, I didn't even look at it closely enough, and I thought, okay, this is weird. Like, you take the flare off, which I understood, and then you put it in the front of the gun for the blast effect, but then I didn't realize why it had this hole in the front of the actual blast effect, and I wasn't thinking, and it's just beautiful the way NECA handled that, where you plug the flare itself into the front of it, and it should have been obvious. But I wasn't thinking when I opened up to look at him. But it's beautiful the way they handled that, where you put the flare in the front of that effect. But just again, you got to be very careful plugging it in. The front of the blast is actually a softer rubber, but it's got a very small hole to make sure the flare stays put. And the flare being harder plastic, that peg that plugs in is very small and it's going to be delicate. So just be very careful plugging it in and taking it out, just to make sure you don't break it. And then again, at the opposite end of the flare blast itself, it is a softer rubber that plugs in over the gun, and that goes on fairly easily, and you know, I'm not too worried about that, because that soft rubber actually helps keep you from thinking about possibly breaking it, which is great. But just be very careful of the flare itself in the front of the blast, because plugging it in, you just want to be very careful not to damage it. They did an amazing job with it, by the way. I hope it looks as good on camera as it does in person, but the paint apps and everything on it, the detail, it just looks beautiful. They did such a great job with it. It's so nice, guys. Oh, and before I forget, lastly, here we have a shot of the briefcase with the money in it, and we'll try and get that in the shot, and hopefully I can get that in focus. But you can see the details there. You have the keys up in the right corner there. The actual details of the money, it looks beautiful. Like, a lot of figures have come with these sort of briefcases in the past, and they just don't seem to do anywhere near the amount of detail and the job that NECA did on this one, and I really love the way they actually painted that and how great it looks. And it's a harder plastic as well, and it goes together, has a nice little snap when you close it up. But again, be very careful of it. It's going to have that really thin, small handle up top, because I think it might look good with other figures, but if you're going to put it into other figures' hands, just be very careful, because it's a very small, thin, delicate handle up top, and again, it's a harder plastic, so it's likely to snap. So just be very careful of that. But the details are incredible. They did a really nice job with it, and I think you'll really like the work that NECA put into these figures. Okay, and the last thing I want to show you guys is the box and the barcode, in case anyone wants to pick him up. I have to be very careful because I'm going to be putting this in front of the figure, and I'm hoping not to knock him over, but I'll try to hold the barcode in front of him. Okay, and also, sorry, the one thing I meant to mention, you'll notice that I did swap out one of the hands there, so you can see that closed fist, just to give you an idea of the different hands that come with him as well. So you do have that closed fist hand as well as the open hand and the holding hand for the gun. And here we have the barcode for those that may want to pick him up. I'm hoping that's in focus. I'm getting awfully close to hitting the figure. I'm hoping you can see that. I'm hoping it's there. If not, then please just let me know and I will take a photograph of it and I'll attach it where I will send it to you. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're enjoying this Gargoyles line, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think of all the different figures and which one is your favorite. And thanks for coming back to the channel. I really appreciate all your support. If you haven't had the chance to subscribe yet, please do. And we'll keep these videos going. As long as I can continue to pick up figures and everything. They're getting a little expensive nowadays. This one alone, I think after conversion, was almost $70 again. So they're getting a little priced because these guys are taking a while to hit Canada. We finally got Goliath and Demona up here as part of that Holathon offer they had with Target. And it was great to see them arriving in Toys R Us, but Demona was basically $70 Canadian. So yeah, they're a little pricey. They're very nice looking. They do look great. The details are incredible on them, and I loved this series as a kid. I thought it was really, really amazing. And the first two seasons anyway were incredible. The third one, they kind of let the show go thanks to the company wanted to, I guess, cut costs and save some money. They went with lesser animators. And they had Greg Weisman step down from handling a lot of the writing and the direction of the series, which was sad to see. But overall, just the storylines in this series, it was so incredible, and it's so great to see some really incredible looking figures to go along with them finally, and just to see like these characters come to life this way, it's amazing. But anyway, guys, sorry for the rant. I hope you enjoyed the video and look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thanks so much. Have a great day, guys. Take care.